Welcome back to Evan Shapiro Amplified, featuring media's official cartographer. I'm Jennifer Wolf, content partner at NAB Amplify, your year-round connection to the NAB show community. Fresh off of part one of our exploration, we are now venturing deeper into the business of you. Here in part two, Evan will unpack even more actionable strategies for you to skill up, empowering you to navigate the challenges of today's media landscape and unlock the full potential of your career. Great to have you back, Evan.
Thanks so much. I'm wearing the same shirt as part one.
Thanks for pointing that out, Evan. It looks really nice.
Thanks.
I just have an endless supply of these.
Black shirt.
So, Evan, you say that we are more than our bios. Can you explain why this concept is so important?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people who either follow me or know me think about me is that I pivot well. I change career paths pretty well, and then they ask me how that's possible. And part of that is, my ability to create a brand that is larger than my individual bio or anything that I've done. And I think that's one of the lessons that I try to impart to people when they're thinking about how to advance their own career. If you pull up the map that I think I'm known best for, this is an expression of my ability to promote myself. So I actually created this map, handmade in PowerPoint, by the way, which is as painful as it sounds, for a class that I teach at NYU and at Fordham University. And then I pitched it to Deadline saying, this is the first, map of the media universe that I found that puts everybody on it, and I took that risk. I put my skin in the game. Everybody could have really blown back at me for something like this because it's, very far afield from, I think, what anybody ever thought from me up until that point. But because I had curated a brand for myself, a personal brand for myself, built around change and kind of disruption up until that point, this map kind of latched onto my personality and onto my personal bio, and then carried me to a different place in my career where I'm now considered, a bit of a pundit and a bit of prognosticator and a bit of an educator for the ecosystem itself. But this now becomes a larger part of a brand image that I curate very carefully for myself on a regular basis. I publish on a regular cadence, daily on LinkedIn, and I don't talk about self-promotional stuff like, hey, congratulations to me for getting a promotion or whatever. It's really content. I put content out on LinkedIn on a regular basis because I want to add to the ecosystem, but also content is great marketing. Marketing is not great content. But everywhere you look for my name out there, even under my bio where it says Media Universe Cartographer, which is, what the heck does that even mean? Except that I've worked so hard curating my personal brand that those who come to this page on my LinkedIn profile know exactly what that means. My company name is a part of my name. My business card is now a QR code. Everything winds that map back into the DNA of my brand presence out there. And then when you look at my LinkedIn page or any part of my self-promotional ecosystem, what you find is examples of how I think, examples of how I see the world differently, examples of how I add value to the community itself. This is a risk. This is an investment of time, but it's also an investment of, frankly, personal brand equity. I think a lot of people fear putting their thoughts and feelings out on the interwebs. But what I have found is the more authentically you do that on a regular basis, the more return on that investment you wind up getting. This is my, I have what I call, what it is called a link tree, where various pieces of the work that I've done over the last couple of years can be found. This is my business card, that has my brand, and it has a QR code. You'd be surprised how many people are surprised that my business card is actually a QR code on my phone. But the way that you think about these things, right now, this is June 2023, so it's looking backwards, but looking ahead to next June 2024 and thinking, well, what festivals or what conferences do I need to be at in order to network better, in order to get my personal brand out there, in order to meet new people? in order to find new opportunities. Who do I call to get on a panel at Tribeca or South by Southwest or Cannes Lion or MIPCOM or NAB? I spend a decent amount of time on that every single month. I think 6, 8, 10 months ahead about where I need to be to make sure that I'm getting the most value out of the time that I spend on my own career. Everyone watching this probably spent a couple $1,000s on a computer. Or they spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on personal trainers or gyms or workout clothes. You should be spending as much time, energy, and resources on your personal brand, on your personal development, as you are your personal computing and your iPhone and your workout routine. Because if you do that, you will get as much of a return on your investment in your brand as is necessary. Investing in your career, time, risk, money, opportunity, putting your neck on the line by saying something aloud. These are incredibly important investments that those who make them get further. Those that don't, I'm not saying you won't have a career, but you're going to have fewer new opportunities on a regular basis than those who do. It's a competitive advantage or disadvantage should you choose to take it.
So that's a very, very powerful idea. And it's almost liberating in a way. I mean, there's a lot of work. And like you're saying, you need to invest the time, you need to invest the money. But I'm sensing liberation behind all of this.
Yeah, there's this misperception that you're gonna be able to work for the same company for the next 25 years. That used to be true. That's very unlikely to be true if you want a really long, sustainable career in the media ecosystem. One, because companies who are now relevant are going to become irrelevant. Sectors that were relevant, scheduling a linear television network, although that's becoming newly relevant and fast. But the old school television operational stuff, in sales and insights and operations, they're shifting to new areas. Gaming is now a new sector that if you work in media and you don't know enough about the gaming industry to investigate it as a potential future for your career, then you're doing yourself an enormous disservice. And so, it is time. A big part of my day is waking up stupid and learning something new about something new every day. I spend 2 hours every morning reading and writing. You don't have to dedicate that much time on any given day. But what you should be doing is looking at your calendar and time blocking investment in yourself, furtherance of your personal brand. Your personal brand is made for you when you're not in the room. And so the work you do around your personal brand, online, at conferences, in person, these are the most important investments you can make for the safety of your career long term.
And this isn't necessarily just advice for content creators. This is for creatives at every point in the production cycle.
Honestly, this is for if you're a line producer, if you're a casting director, if you're an editor. If you're an editor and you don't have your sizzle, a great, catchy, funny sizzle reel up on LinkedIn or on other potential sites or in a place that people can find it on a regular basis. A lot of people have sizzle reels. It's on YouTube. No one sees it. And the only time anyone sees it is when you've had a conversation and you forward it to them. You have to be discoverable. In order in this world right now, where 135,000 people were laid off in media, entertainment, and technology in the last 12 months, and the only way for you to play the numbers game, the only way for you to stand out is to not spend so much time fitting in. You have to figure out how to become your own head of marketing. Last chapter, we talked about treating your career like your own company. Yes, you have to be CEO of your own shit, but you also have to have a CMO, which is also you. And so your CEO, which is you, and your CMO, which is you, need to meet on a regular basis and saying, all right, what's my key KPI this month? How many meetings am I taking? How many panels am I going to speak on? How many clicks can I get on my sizzle reel? So this is important for, heads of HR. This is important for anybody who wants some sort of brand equity in the cohort who can do them the most benefit.
So it's not just about throwing yourself at whatever event you think you need to be at. It's about reporting to yourself about what you have going on to make things happen.
That's
That's
exactly right.
powerful.
It is what's our 12-month plan? What's our 3-year plan? And then on top of that, what's our 12-month plan? And then on top of that, what's our 6-month plan? And then what's our 90-day plan? And what are we doing on a regular basis to meet the KPIs in our own life that are important to us? And the KPIs may be earning potential, they may be job promotions. Frankly, they could be board seats, they could be, anything. But once you know what that strategy is long term, then you have to spend time. The people who spend time on their career every day will have great opportunity thrust at them. The ones who don't will not.
So give us some IRL examples. Who are some industry professionals who have transcended their resumes or their job descriptions to achieve significant success?
There's this a really great consultant in the fast ecosystem. She's French. Her name is Marion Ranchette, and she has a newsletter. She has really reinvented herself. She worked at Roku for a while, and now she's out on her own. She does a lot of public speaking. She's just really brilliant. But mostly, she takes a chance on herself. She bet on herself. She puts herself out there. She writes articulately on a regular basis. Doug Shapiro, not to favor people with my same last name, but he is also another good one. He left Warner Brothers Discovery, where he was in business strategy and operations, and now he writes a beautiful Substack, or actually a Medium newsletter on a regular basis. Alan Woke is another one who has really turned himself into kind of a paragon of the fast and streaming ecosystem. And I think the kind of pinnacle of it is Scott Galloway, who really kind of blew up his own career at one point and now has reinvented himself into Prof G and is one of the most influential thinkers in all of business, not just media, but across all industries. And he's created an enormous amount of opportunity. He gets paid $250,000 per speaking engagement. We're all not going to reach that level, but what we can do is set our sights on what would be satisfying for us and for mid and late career folks. When you look at the chaos in the ecosystem right now, there is no safe place to work. None. There isn't. If you want a safe place to work, go sell air conditioners in July. Like, that's the only safe job, right? But for a lot of us who are in late mid or late career, like I am, a portfolio lifestyle, going out and selling our superpowers bottle by bottle, day by day, that's likely going to become a solution for a lot of us when we think about earning and productivity and challenges and fun and satisfaction from our careers. It may be daunting to some of us who have had jobs for the greater part of our career, but I can tell you, most people call it the creator economy. I call it the community economy. My entire career is based on success in the community economy. I have a small and mighty community on LinkedIn that really powers all the revenue I make. And that is a real opportunity for everyone. No matter what you do, no matter what you're great at, the community economy has a place for you. But if you don't at least investigate it, if you don't at least look into and explore your brand equity in the larger community that is the professionals in the media ecosystem, you will be leaving 50% or more of the opportunity for the rest of your career on the table.
And that's a big chunk of that, isn't it? So, Evan, you've talked a little bit about reinventing oneself. How does acknowledging that we're more than our bios and really understanding that, how does that help us do that?
Yeah, look, there are heart surgeons, and that's a skill set that's pretty particular. There are mechanical engineers, and if that's what you want to do, that's a very specific thing. But for a lot of us in the media ecosystem, our skill sets are not necessarily tied to an individual thing. They are very transferable. A lot of it is problem solving or product management or project management or coordination or communication or, deal making. Everything I just said in that list is transferable to any number of different opportunities. And so understanding what your superpowers are and what they add up to, absent the specific job or job title that you have right now, enables you to pivot into new areas. The things that I'm doing now, I've always been good at, but they've never been applied to the things I'm doing now before. And the first thing that people say to me who've known me a long time, but haven't seen me in a minute, what they say to me is, what the heck did you do to get from there to here? And the answer is everything I just said. I thought about it. I spent time on it. I dedicated resources to furthering certain skills that I have and certain talents that I have. And then I put a lot of energy in pushing it out on a regular basis, in taking the risk, in telling people what I think and how I feel about things. It's all driven by my personal passion and my personal superpowers. But there's a bit of, that first step off the plane is a scary one. And then you pull the ripcord and hopefully the parachute comes out. The more prep you do on that parachute in advance, the more guarantee you have that when you pull on that ripcord for a pivot, that parachute's going to come out.
And given industry shifts and changes, even in our own personal interests and goals, we need that parachute.
Absolutely.
So how does this notion of being more than our bios affect the way we network, collaborate, and contribute within M&E?
That's a really, really good question. One of the challenges I try to give people is write your own elevator pitch. Know how to pitch yourself in a cocktail conversation. Know how to pitch yourself in an elevator when you have 3 floors with somebody who can change your life. Understand and spend time on becoming a category expert so that you have more to talk about than yourself when you're at these networking events. But then on top of all of that, look for all of the networking events that you can go to. Look for trade organizations that you can join, volunteer for, run for office for, help plan events for, because the best version of yourself that's going to further your career is happening when you're not auditioning for a job. It's when you're passionate about something and volunteering for something. It's when you're able to talk about something super interesting that you just read. It's when you become a category expert in something and you have an infinite amount of talking points that aren't the same thing over and over again. And frankly, the time to wake up stupid every day and learn something new about something new, that's the best way to have something interesting to talk about on a regular basis. Hey, I just read this thing. I just saw this thing. Did you see this thing? How few of us in this ecosystem spend the time every quarter to read the earnings reports of all of the companies that we either work with, compete against, or want to work for. Very few of us. I've polled the community, but these are not difficult documents to read. They just take time. You have to look for them. You have to take the time to put in. And so, part of networking is being at the right place at the right time. The best jobs aren't posted. The best jobs that you will ever have, you're probably going to invent for yourself. And the only way you do that is being with the thought leaders at the right moment in time when they're very fertile and suggestible. The second part of that is having shit to say when you get that opportunity, and then putting your neck out there and moderating panels, or volunteering for organizations. It's a collision of many different things, but most of it comes from investing the time and the money and the opportunity and the skin and the risk in yourself to put yourself in the center of the target when the arrow is being shot.
And for instance, when you're moderating a panel, you're not just promoting yourself, you're actually contributing. People want information, they want knowledge.
The best opportunities have come to me when I'm not talking about myself, when I'm talking about something I'm passionate about. Like this,
Okay.
This is one of those instances. Like, I've spent a lot of time on career development over the years. Like, I've dedicated I have a whole PowerPoint presentation on it. And this is a category in which I have become an expert. because I'm passionate about it. I talk about it a lot. And you know what? Every time I talk about it, I get a new opportunity. Every time I talk about the media ecosystem in front of a crowd full of people, I get new opportunities. So when I moderate a panel, because I spend a tremendous amount of time prepping to moderate panels, and I spend a tremendous amount of time thinking about how to moderate panels differently from everyone else, because I put in all preparation. I put in all that time. I put in all that effort. I think about where I want to be a year in advance. Cannes Lion, South by South. I'm already planning next South by Southwest. Because I do that, when I get the opportunity to hold the mic, every time I do, it creates new opportunity for me.
Okay, but every once in a while, we do need to talk about ourselves. How do we effectively communicate our worth, our capabilities to other people in the industry, potential employers, potential collaborators, when we're, again, a lot more than our bios?
Well, there's two parts to that. One, I no longer have to pitch myself. I've spent so much time on my personal brand that most meetings I take start with, wow, love your stuff. Now, that's an unusual circumstance because I spend a lot of time putting out content. But if you do a good job of building your personal brand, a lot of times the opportunity will come to you. That's what you want. You want to spend time creating inbound. It's not enough to just do outbound. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is investigate what your superpower is. Spend time working on the articulation of your specific superpower. Because if you can articulate what you do or might do better than anyone else on the face of the earth, like I said, there's only one you. No one's going to be better at being you than you. Now, figure out what the fuck that means and put it into 25 words or less. That's an exercise that most people have never done, and it's a thing. Like, if you ask somebody, tell me what your superpower is, I would argue that probably 9 out of 10 people that you're going to meet in our ecosystem cannot do that for themselves. Even after a long career where they've been vice president of that and senior vice president of that, like, what is it that you do better than any other marketer? What is it that you do better than any other line producer? What is it you do better than any other executive that we're going to interview for this opportunity? Or that we're going to offer to any other consultant. If you can't do that, well, then how are other people going to champion you back at the home office? If you can't put your superpowers into 25 words or less, then you need to spend a decent amount of time getting to that point where you can.
Evan, you've given us some great exercises. Thank you so much.
Sure.
This is just fantastic. Thanks for being here today.
My pleasure.
Folks, that's media cartographer Evan Shapiro. Thanks for watching along, and be sure to check in on our next installment of the series for Rebuilding the Industry, where Evan breaks down the current media apocalypse and charts the path ahead. For more great insights like these, head on over to amplify.nabshow.com.